Welcome back to another episode of Way Too Wifey. I am your host, respectfully Gabby, and in this podcast, we talk all things dating and relationships in this modern day. If you have not done so already, please hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notification so you will never miss another episode if you're watching this on YouTube. And then if you're watching this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else that you can listen to podcasts, please leave that 5-star rating. And thank you so much to everyone that has already done so. I really, truly appreciate it. So thank you. Another announcement, I am now accepting clients for my online coaching. If you've ever had questions, concerns, if your dating life is in shambles, if you don't know what's going wrong in your dating life right now, I have a 12-week program that I have been working on for the past 6 months, and I have absolutely perfected this. I've tested it out on myself. I've tested it out on friends, and they seem to absolutely love the process. So if you've ever had any questions, concerns, whatever in your dating life, feel free to reach out. I'm here to answer any questions, and then hit the link in my bio to apply if you're serious about transforming your dating life. With that being said, let's hop into the episode. Let's talk today about deal breakers. Without deal breakers, you are not clear about what you will or will not tolerate inside of a relationship. And if you don't have deal breakers, you are giving that other person way too much power because you aren't clear about what you're looking for. I think the thing with deal breakers is that it's tough if you haven't really been out in the dating game, if you haven't really experienced a lot of relationships, what you're exactly looking for. So until you've kind of fished around, I feel like this is huge for knowing what you're going to tolerate in a relationship and what you don't want. Any relationship that you've been in the past and things that you've experienced in just dating around, you know exactly what you're looking for and what you're not looking for, because every single person that you come in contact with while you're dating or in relationships, you should be taking away something from that interaction, whether it be, I hate this thing about this person and I will not tolerate this. I am now making this a deal breaker, or something that someone has to offer that you're like, oh my God, yeah, I need that in my life. If they don't have that, that is now a deal breaker. So we're getting into deal breakers. What are actually real deal, legitimate deal breakers, and what are just things that we say that we don't actually really mean? With talking with friends recently, I've noticed that I was talking what are your deal breakers in dating? What are you looking for in a guy? And my friend was like, I cannot do another guy that has a kid. And I was like, okay, that's fair. I didn't really ask why. And then weeks later, she's going out with this guy who has a kid. And I'm like, wait a minute, you said that your deal breaker was someone that did not have a kid. So what changed? She was like, okay, honestly, I wanted to get back out there in the dating scene. I want to go on dates and see what it's like. Seemed like a nice guy, wanted to give him a chance. I'm like, okay, cool. So that's not really a deal breaker. Why is it a deal breaker for you? And she's like, well, I want to be the one to have that first experience with someone. I get it. And you're allowed to want what you want, for sure. But in this case, this guy had a baby mama that was literally just a baby mama. They weren't dating. They didn't have a good experience with their first kid. And that was all that it was. He never had that loving couple together that is having a kid, bringing a child into this world. And he craved that as well. So she's like, I'm going to give it a chance. And they're doing really well right now. So things are going fine. And she's overlooking the child thing because you have to know why you have your boundaries too. I think that's huge because for me, let's talk about the kids thing. I know now that I want children. Well, my last relationship, let's say, I didn't really ask these questions in the very beginning. It was not a conversation that we had until months into the relationship when I had already fell in love with this person. This was in my head, my person. What had happened was after we had that conversation, now I'm stuck into this relationship where I really love him, but now he doesn't want kids. And I think that these are, conversations that you need to be having with people in the very beginning, especially if it's your deal breakers. I didn't know at the time, I think, if I really wanted kids or if it was just something that was whatever. I now know that I want kids. So anyone that I end up with after this has to want kids. And that is an absolute deal breaker for me. As far as another person having kids, ask yourself why that bothers you. For me, I know that I would be open to someone who had a kid, but a deal breaker in that situation would be a crazy baby mama. If you didn't have a good relationship with that baby mama, that would be a deal breaker for me because I don't want to be involved in the drama. I didn't sign up for this. If you have a good relationship with the baby's mother, I can work with it. Not my ideal pick, but if he's perfect on paper, if we have a great connection, if everything's good, he just has a child, it's not the end of the world for me. But I do think it is really important to ask yourself these questions of, why is it a deal breaker for me? And am I maybe open to the possibility of it? Because not every single person that you come in contact with is going to mark every single one of your boxes, but deal breakers are a hard stop. Like, I need to get out of this situation and not waste any more of my time because I know that this is not my person. And you can't have like a full laundry list of deal breakers either. That's just not how this works. You got to have some leeway, some room to compromise, or else you're never going to find that perfect person. No one is perfect. Anyone will come with their own flaws. You have to accept that person for who they are. I wanted to get into the 6 main deal breakers that should be in everyone's deal breakers. This is universal. Men, women should have this type of deal breaker mixed in with their own personal deal breakers. So the ones that I have written down are anger issues. Like, that for me, and really should be for everyone. If you have anger issues, if you do not know how to control your emotions, it is a done deal for me. I've never dated anyone with anger issues. Everyone that I'm really like attracted to was very calm, chill, cool as a cucumber. And that's the type of person I like. If you had anger issues, didn't know how to deal with your feelings, that escalates. The anger issues things turns into abuse months later or years later. That is where that stems from. So if you notice a red flag of someone showing signs of not being able to control their anger, red flag. Number 2 is respecting me and my body. If I don't want to do something, you're not doing it, and you're not going to keep asking me and pushing yourself on me. I'm being respectful of myself, and you should also respect my boundaries. And if I say no, it's a no. That is considered rape, my friend. Number 3, belittling. The reason why this should be a deal breaker for you is because if someone is constantly breaking you down and telling you all of the things that's wrong with you or making you feel less than, you are going to start to believe these things about yourself. I know in my last relationship, it was a joking tone, but I always felt like he was putting me down, like I felt less than. And I constantly was just like, yo, am I just an awful person? Like, this sucks. I don't like feeling like everything I did was just kind of wrong. I will never allow another person to let me feel that way again. If they're belittling you or making you feel less than, it's a no. In that case too, it was making me question my own sanity. Am I really who I think I am? If he's telling me that I'm not, my self-awareness that I have, it was like skewed because I thought that I was very self-aware, but he was telling me all the things that were wrong with me. Like, let me, work on myself then. Let me really focus on working on myself. I would keep leveling up and leveling up and leveling up. And then we would get back together when I would level up. And then we would come back together and he would start to belittle me and my confidence would go down. If this is the type of behavior in your relationships, mark it as a red flag, or anyone that you're dating, mark it as a red flag. That is a deal breaker. Number 4, lying. If you're lying to me about anything, especially in the beginning phases of dating, because you have absolutely no reason to lie to me. Like, if you're dating other people, you're seeing other people, that's fine. We're not in a relationship. But if you're lying to me about it, that's a problem. If you're lying about the small things, you're probably lying about the big things too. My first ex was a complete liar. He would lie about literally everything, who he was with, what he was doing. I'm like, what are you actually doing? Like, oh, I'm out at football with like these specific people. And then I would look on their stories and they're like not even in the state. And I'm like, why lie? Who are you actually with? Because now I'm questioning this whole, like, I can't trust you now. And then that develops in trust issues and ways that like, I can't trust this person, but now I want to look through their phone, or now I have the urge to like do all these really toxic behavior things. So if you're lying and I can't trust you, that's a problem. And number 5, I would say, is control. I've never, ever in my life been with someone who was controlling. And the very first signs that you show me that you slightly care about controlling the way I act, look, think, feel, dress, anything that you're trying to control, I don't have the tolerance for it at all. I'm just gonna laugh in your face. It can't be controlled, but you can suggest maybe that would work a little bit more effectively. And then lastly, I would say just overall feeling off around them. If this is with any person in my life, I will not allow, and I don't think that anyone should allow, if you are feeling off around this person, always like you're constantly anxious, you're constantly feeling like, this is not how this is, like, I just feel awful, or like something feels off. It's a no. You deserve to be around people who are giving you good energy, inspiring you, making you feel good, giving you the zah in life, right? You can either choose to be around people that are miserable and are tearing you down, or you can choose to be around people who are uplifting and positive. Choose wisely, because the people that you spend the most time around will determine the direction of your life. And it is so important that you do not end up with the wrong person who is going to completely change and deter you from your actual path. If there's something off, trust your gut. You're probably not wrong. So as I was preparing for this episode, I was looking at online of what men and women, like what their deal breakers would be. And I did some research and saw that the men's top 3 deal breakers are a woman who has kids, a woman with low sex drive, and a woman who talks too much. I don't like these. I mean, I totally get some of them because, okay, whatever. You're allowed to want what you want. I've said that before, I'll say it again. You're allowed to want what you want. The baggage of a kid, like that is technically baggage. The talks too much is kind of what gets me. And also, like, I kind of understand men are very sexual beings. So, and then I looked into women and what women's deal breakers were. And shocker, we have a lot more deal breakers than men. We know what we're looking for. And then sometimes we want too much. We can't find anyone. This is like the top 5 deal breakers for women. Bad hygiene. This is so big. Like, I would never date someone who had bad hygiene. Like, that's just gross. Or you smell bad, or you didn't like brush your teeth, or you had bad breath. Like, that would be no. We're not doing that. Number 2, cocky guy, like someone who like brags a lot about himself, because that is honestly, that's such a turn off for me. Like, it's a turn off. No, actually, I think that might be a deal breaker too. I've met some really like cocky guys, especially in the narcissist city of Miami. The cocky guy who like brags all about his life. It's like, what value do you actually have that you feel like you sit on this high horse? No, goodbye. Number 3 is baggage in any way, like excess baggage, emotional baggage. I think everyone has baggage, so it's kind of like hard to say, but I think the baggage thing is kind of depends what kind of baggage, I guess. If you're still hung up on your ex, that's a deal breaker for me, for sure, because I'm not competing. I shouldn't have to. I'm the prize. And then number 4, player, which is kind of confusing because a lot of girls go after the player. I feel like not my type. So if he's the player, he's got to go. My old type, though, was totally a player. It is a deal breaker for sure. I don't want to feel anxious that you're like out with a bunch of other girls and doing your thing. Like, it's not gonna work out. Sorry. And then number 5, I mean, there was a whole long list. I'm stopping at number 5 though, but control freak. And I said this before, and this should be like an actual red flag. If someone is trying to control the way you are, red flag. That's a red flag. That's a hard stop. That is, please, gotta go. And then I wanted to touch upon like some other like areas of deal breakers. Religion. I feel like this one's a huge one. I've heard a lot of people who have been dating, and like I have one friend specifically. She's Jewish and she only wants a Jewish guy. I get that. If religion is like your top priority in life, that's like your number one thing that you do, it's nice to find someone who aligns with those values. The one thing that I will say is that the right person, they may not identify to a certain religion and they may be open to changing religions. My stepbrother is engaged to this girl who's very Catholic, and he didn't really have a religion specifically. He converted to being Catholic. I think that it can happen for the right person. I don't think that you should like limit your options to only that religion. For me, I'm just like, I don't really identify as a specific religion. I'm more spiritual. I believe in a lot of metaphysical things. I do believe in God. I think that the universe is God. I think that we're all one. Is it important for me, like my personal practice of prayer, meditation, whatever, is that important for my own personal being, for someone else to also experience that with me? It's nice. And I want someone who understands me and accepts me, but they don't have to be the same. That is your own personal relationship with God or whoever, whatever you believe in. I think a deal breaker for me would be open-mindedness. If they weren't open-minded about the things that I had to say, if you identify so hard with a religion that you cannot hear any other opinions, that's a deal breaker for me, because I have a lot of crazy thoughts and feelings and whatever towards spirituality. If you can't be open-minded then and accept me for who I am and what I believe, that's a deal breaker for me. If I'm saying what's your zodiac sign and they're like, oh my God, you don't believe in that fucking shit, it's a red flag for me, because yes, you may not believe in it and that's fine. You don't have to understand everything, but I do. So if you don't believe in it and you're judging me for like being into what I'm into, you have to accept me for who I am and where I'm at the end of the day. That's all I care about. Would I want someone who is also spiritual? Absolutely, but it's not a deal breaker. And I've known some people who share opposite religions that get along just fucking great. If it is a top priority in your life, you're dating someone who has a very different lifestyle, whatever, then yeah, we've already talked about kids. I think that's a huge one. You should be asking those questions in the beginning phases of dating. If you are with someone and you want kids and they do not want kids, save yourself the fucking time and get out when you could be cracking your eggs with someone else, okay? Finances. Ooh. I think this one's so huge, and I really want to talk about this because I feel like a lot of people, especially in Miami, are like, a deal breaker for me is this guy has to be rich. Are you those things? Like, be honest with yourself. Are you financially okay and responsible? And then you're looking for that in a partner. Why is that a deal breaker for you? For me, they don't have to be rich as fuck, but we have to be on the same path of wanting the same things in life. And I just feel like where I'm heading in life is financial success. I am very driven. So if he's like not as like motivated by money for the aspect of like living a better life, we're not long-term going to work out. If I want to do something and you're like complaining about money, or, you know, I have to pitch in a little bit more because you can't afford it, that's a problem for me, because I'm going to end up resenting you because you don't know how to handle your shit. Borderline, there is some financial deal breakers in that. But I would ask yourself, like, why do you have those deal breakers if like you're not that? Or if you are that, then sure, you should be. Honestly, at the end of the day, you can want what the fuck you want and no one can tell you otherwise. You're allowed and you're entitled to want what you want. I would ask yourself, why is it a deal breaker? Challenge yourself. And then personality traits. Lastly, personality traits. In the sense of, I'm not getting into too much. You can just take that one and make it your own type of deal breaker for whatever personality you're looking for. But I will say a couple things. The deal breakers that actually kind of matter are, like, for me, humor. Like, I've always thought about this. And there's this one girl that we were talking, and she was saying how she wouldn't date a guy who didn't have good humor, or like didn't share the same kind of humor. I agree. Like, I think that you should have like somewhat of a baseline, but it doesn't have to be the exact kind of humor. Like, everyone has their own type of humor. And if you're not funny, I don't know. Personally, I need someone to make me laugh. So I get it. But I don't know, I've kind of been up in the air about that one. Can you realistically have a long-term relationship with someone who does not share your same sense of humor? I've always wondered this. That's one that like stumps me every time. I don't know. But everyone's different. Everyone wants different things. I challenge you to figure out what your deal breakers actually are, outside of like the main ones that everyone really should have. But your personal deal breakers. What is it that you will not tolerate? Because I promise you, this is going to add to the success of your dating life. And if you don't know, think back to past relationships. What did those people possess? What qualities did you like about them? And what qualities did you not like about them? What are you willing to tolerate? What are you not willing to tolerate? And then go from there. You can add more along the way, but just don't make this laundry list of deal breakers. It shouldn't be that. And that is it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, if you have not done so already, now is your time to hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave that thumbs up, leave that 5-star rating. I appreciate each and every view. So thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you all next Tuesday.